This is one of the most wild clips I've seen of someone who voted for Trump asserting that Trump's a liar, and doing so in the context of this mass deportation plan on the part of Trump and his incoming administration. We're going to remove all undocumented immigrants from the United States like this is the broader proclamation, even though when Trump's confronted on the specifics of what we'll go through here, he gets a little bit waffly. And CNN did a piece talking to specifically a farmer, a dairy farmer, who says if Trump does what he said he was going to do and what I voted for him, knowing he was saying he was going to do, the food industry will collapse. And food in the matter of 2 days will no longer be arriving to people. But I believe Trump is lying, and he's been lying all along. He uses different language, but you'll see what I mean. Then after we watch this, I'll go through why the impact of Trump's plan would be so economically disastrous and destabilizing, and then what the better solution would be, in my view. While you watch this, please do click the subscribe button and stick around for that explanation if you've been curious about this whole mass deportation plan's impact on the economy.
But it's a tricky issue for Mose.
What percentage of your workers are not U.S. born?
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
Do you know what the immigration status is of any of your workers?
I don't know.
Do you ask?
Well, can you ask? We have the right papers on file, and they're there is there.
Are you worried if there were a mass roundup of undocumented migrants that you might lose workers? You might not have enough workers.
How are they going to do that? Nobody will be filling the shelves. Nobody will be producing food.
And just for our podcast listeners, epic B-roll being shown while this conversation's going on. It makes sense. A dairy farmer, you're gonna have to see some suction cups on cow thingies.
Do that. Nobody will be filling the shelves. Nobody will be producing food. Within 2 days, we will not have food. There will not be food anywhere.
2 days?
Yes.
Does Governor Noem understand that?
I would think so. I'm pretty sure.
It sounds like you have a lot of faith that they're not going to do what they're saying.
That's pretty much what I'm thinking. We have to trust in our officials that are put in place.
We have to trust in our officials that are put in place. So before I get to the potential aftermath of such a plan, first to address what the guy said, and then we'll get back to a really interesting Kristi Noem part of that CNN reporting. But how do you say we have to have faith in the elected officials we put in place when you actively participated in putting one in place who could then do the bad thing you're saying would be bad, but you don't believe he's going to do it? You're saying your faith is in him, but you voted for him after he explained that his plan would destroy your business and destroy our economy. But the guy says, well, he must have been lying then, because that's what it would be. If this farmer's correct, and he very well might be, that Trump's not actually going to do all the things he's saying as it pertains to deportation, then he's admitting Trump was lying because he said that more than any other thing he said on the campaign trail. Now, a couple caveats before jumping into this more broadly. Of course, sometimes, like I've been on Piers Morgan before when he's brought up, oh, well, guess who deported more people than, and he's talking about Obama's administration and how many people were deported. Just like how when we talk about tariffs, it's not that deportation inherently is bad. For example, when people are in the country illegally and commit a crime, top of the list for deportation is usually U.S. policy, which makes sense. One of the reasons that study I've told you about before that indicated more undocumented immigrants with criminal records were released in the country under the Trump administration, the Biden administration, is because the Trump administration widened and stretched out resources so much, wanting to go after just anyone in the United States illegally, as opposed to specifically narrowing it down and prioritizing heavily those who we wouldn't want to be in the country and those who are committing crimes, which is percentage-based, a really small percentage, but is who should be prioritized. So that's another reason that stat even reveals the contradiction in the claim that Trump is doing this all to make people more safe when he had a worse record on that than Biden did. But then also in an ideal world, obviously everyone would have legal status. We wouldn't have people in the country without legal immigration status, ideally. But the solution to that is not a deportation plan of the magnitude and timetable that Trump has laid out before. We're going to do it so quickly in one term, and doesn't include immigration reform. Because my approach would be immigration reform, and then of course investments in border security. But we do have to expand and increase the number of lawful immigrants that we allow into the United States for numerous reasons that we've gone over before. But now, what would of the speed and scale that Trump and his allies have outlined, what would the economic impact be of that, of snapping your fingers and removing all undocumented immigrants from the United States? Just the facts, even if you're a MAGA person who doesn't agree on the principle that we should have a lot of, just of the facts, what would we see? Well, certainly an economic recession, if not a collapse, portrayed by what that farmer was talking about, because you would extract millions and millions of workers, of labor that was producing values, that was filling some key role in a supply chain somewhere. And so you would cause a supply chain spiral and total chaos, leading to massive spikes in prices. Massive. Imagine a business is running like that, guys. A farmer has 50% undocumented immigrants working, and you just remove them. What is that going to do to the cost of the dairy products in the case of that one individual or any other sector? You'd also have GDP contraction in the trillions. We're talking about trillions of dollars decrease in the US GDP. Consumer spending of those who used to be in the United States, who all of a sudden aren't, would drop. That would harm businesses even more. You would lose tax revenue. Again, this doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but we've gone over the specific data points many, many times in the past. Often they'll say undocumented immigrants are leeching off the system. And while again, I agree that ideally, and we need to implement policies to facilitate a world where you only are in the United States if you have legal status. I agree, that's the ideal world. But they do portray false notions like there's higher rates of criminality among undocumented immigrants. Just not true. And then another one is they're leeching off the system. They're getting all these welfare benefits, and then we're paying for it with our tax dollars. Actually, undocumented immigrants are paying more in taxes than they ever get back in any social programs, because so many of them they're not able to access because they're not in the country legally, but there are forms of taxes that they're paying. And so we'd have a loss in tax revenue, contributing to government unease. And then with the money that's being put into the housing market and renting, you'd have a destabilization there. And combining all those factors gets a complete, or portrays a complete and total economic disaster. What do you do when, as we've looked at before, an estimated 44 to 50% of farm workers are undocumented immigrants? What do you do when you just don't have that labor? Well, hire other people. Well, first of all, we're already very employed as a country. So there's not just workers all over the place to fill all these different roles. We don't have enough people probably, even if each and every one of them wanted to do such a job. And you'd see increases in the prices necessary to get such workers. So the prices companies would have to charge to fill all those positions would be massive. And there wouldn't even be enough people to do so. So this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Is definitely a recession, definitely massive price increases. Yes, a reduction in our GDP, which would be a crisis. Yes, decrease in tax revenue. Supply chain, if you thought the pandemic supply chain issues were bad, get ready for this. And all to do something that is serving pretty much just Trump's base in their excitement, but it would hurt them economically. And a broader issue that we could address in a much more comprehensive and level-headed way, as I said, through comprehensive immigration reform, which includes border security, having a really tight, well-organized, well-enforced border, and then pathways to citizenship as a part of that immigration reform package and so many other things. But it's never that. It has to be things that fit on a bumper sticker. Mass deportation now. Yeah. Even if that means I have to pay way more. Our food industry collapses. That one guy said, no food in 2 days. Maybe he's being dramatic, but he's illustrating a really important point. All right, back to the CNN report.
If they follow through, he's going to lose a lot of workers.
Unlike the dairy farmer, Boyd Gurno, chairman of the Lower Brule Sioux tribe, believes Noem's mass deportation threats the relationship between all 9 of South Dakota's tribes and Noem completely broken. All the tribes have banned her from walking onto native land. That's an estimated 15% of the governor's own state.
The governor of the state, Kristi Noem,
Yeah.
she can stand where we are.
Yes. No.
Can she?
She can't cross the line. She's forbidden from our lands.
The governor of your state
Yes.
cannot come onto reservation.
Right.
How did this happen?
Basically, she said some very derogatory and untrue things about cartel holding up shop on reservations.
The cartels have a presence on several of South Dakota's tribal reservations. They have been successful in recruiting tribal members to join their criminal activity.
It's not true.
Is this about race?
I think it is, yes.
Why do you think that?
Did she say anything about cartels being in Rapid City or Sioux Falls?
That are primarily white.
Yes.
So then more trouble at home there with Kristi Noem, who has been selected to be Trump's Homeland Security Secretary. I wish I had thought of something before. Wait, let me think. She is being tasked with protecting our lives at home when she couldn't even protect the life of her dog. I could have thought of something better, but something about cricket and how she shot her dog. Okay, there we go. You get it. Fill in the comments what is a better way to joke about that. But yeah, so the reason that the initial farmer was talked to is as a part of a broader report about this issue. And Kristi Noem will be very involved in the immigration, deportation subject because she's going to be the Homeland Security Secretary. And this is a lot of what MAGA's fueled by. Things that if you fearmonger enough about them can sound nice to the base, like we saw in those signs at the RNC, mass deportation now. Ideas like, let's just get every single undocumented immigrant out of the country in 4 years. Some who have been in the United States working for a super long time. Some, in terms of the DACA folks, who aren't here because of their own wrongdoing at all and were brought here by a parent. But all of them. And it sounds nice to some of the MAGA folks. But what it means in their life is disaster. Now imagine you combine mass deportations, economic recession, economic spiral, supply chain collapses, jobs that can't be filled, food that's unaffordable, add tariffs to it. Now you have even more unaffordable products, even more business unease, and then add to that an environment where, among all of our hardship, Trump cuts taxes in a way that disproportionately benefits wealthy people. You're setting yourself up for a lot of pain and a lot of regret among the people who chose this over the alternative. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Did I explain it well? I want to just give as quickly as I could, a breakdown of what's so disastrous about this incoming administration's plan regarding deportation. You can give me your thoughts on that. Let me know what I missed. And then also get the bonus show if you appreciate this show by clicking the join button below.